Hi there guys, it's Alec, and today we're going to spend some time on capturing supplier documentation. Okay, so that's your creditors side of your business, and that's specifically going to be in a Pastel partner or a Sage 50 Cloud or a Pastel Express environment. Okay, so let's quickly just touch on what a supplier environment looks like. So firstly, when you sit with a Pastel environment, you've got a database that is linked obviously to a company, and there you're going to process various types of creditors documentation. So what does that look like? So when you capture, you've got a few options. You're going to either capture a purchase order when you're ordering stuff, or you're going to GRN in items, or you're going to capture supplier invoices. All right, so let's have a quick look what it looks like in Pastel so we can just orientate ourselves. So firstly, this is a quick just a demo environment, copy of one of the environments that we run. And when we go to capture a supplier invoice, we obviously going to first capture it either under this blue little icon over here, which is supply documents, or you can go to process suppliers, and then you can select an option. What do you want to actually process over here? So we're going to touch on supplier invoices for now. So when you use supplier invoices, what you do is you actually go and then select the supplier you want to then capture against. I'm going to select the very first one, and then you're going to tab in, and you're going to select whether you want inclusive or exclusive. You have to do that before you start actually filling in any information in your details block over here. You're going to capture the supplier invoice number. I'm going to say, invoice 123, and then you're going to start capturing your information, whether you want to capture against the item, you're going to go for a 4, or you want to capture against a GL code, you're going to go for a 6. So as you go through this, you'll notice that you kind of like have a very onerous typing environment. You have to go and select, or you have to know your codes beforehand. So let's say this is for electricity and water. I have to type that, and then I have to type in I want for instance property taxes first. I have to capture whether that's got VAT in it, and I have to capture how much it is. And so we have to go forth one by one line and capture each line. All right, so let's go and we say electricity, and we say that's a 15, and we had 2,500 for instance, and so we go on. All right, until we reach the end, and then we go either next document or we say batch update. All right, so what we do on the optimization side to help you capture quicker, that's our goal is to help people capture data quicker and more structured. We've got an app called MySuppliers. All right, so MySuppliers ultimately is the app that integrates into any of these Pastel environments and helps you capture quicker and also structure that data, and actually enhances it. It's got a few optimization benefits. So let me first show you quickly what the app looks like. So once you open it, this is that specific MySupplier environment for the database that we see now. So I'm going to take you through a few options here as to how you can enhance the speed and also what the benefits are. So let's first also say, well, it's got the same flavor. It's got you can capture a certain document type over here. By the way, you can also capture stock counts in here, but let's first start with what we are now mirroring on the other side. We can capture a supplier invoice. Right, so now this is built in a Excel environment, which means it's also quite friendly for any user, because a Pastel environment is very specifically very technical, whilst this environment's built to make sure that it's not so technical and easier for a multitude of people to use to make sure that your capturing is kept up to date. Right, so let's now go and capture our customer over here. This is also the first one I'm going to use, and you'll actually see it's plugged into that database. So it's going to capture that same supply code that you've also seen here on the on this side, where the supply code is ACDC. But nice, it's actually it's name specific, so they can just go and search for the name, and it will automatically go and go and search for that code. Now we go in and we say the reference, so we know we just use the reference invoice 123. Okay, so here we can capture the date if we want. So we're just going to keep with today's date automatically. It's preset to that, and we're going to go to the default environment. Okay, so the default environment, the details environment, that's that block that you see over here Now we're going to go and capture some data. So what you can do, you can either do it very similarly, the same way. We're going to go 365,000, and it's going to automatically capture that, and it's going to search for that in the little database that it's linked to, and it's going to say electricity and water. And you can then start with the same thing, property rates, and say quantity 1. And the benefit here, however, is if I go 1,000, if I've forgotten to put including, excluding at this stage, I can still go and change that at any time after I've started. Whilst in Pastel, you have to actually go and clear all your lines, and then go and put inclusive, exclusive, and restart the process. That's not the case in MySuppliers. All right, so that's one way of quickly doing it, and so you can go on and do the same thing, and then say electricity, and as we said, you're 2,500, and you capture the tax type. All right, so now the next thing is so firstly, I think the first speed enhancement that you see here is in-app buttons. Okay, so you've got in-app buttons that may really help you. For instance, if you've got items that you've already loaded, you can go and search under any item over here, and you can go and say, well, let's see what comes up if I type in expense. I've got a finance expense there, and you can go and select that option, and it will land your actual item code over there. Let me just quickly clear the filter, sorry about that, and just land that one again, expense. All right, and you'll see that it lands that expense item code over here. All right, so that's firstly something that's helps a lot. If you look at all these items that's available in this database, these are all the items loaded in the master file that you'll find under edit inventory items. Okay, so that's when you use a code 4 on any document. You'll see that it's just pulling up all those items that's available, and once you it's actually done alphabetically. So if you go and just select any of these, you'll actually see you can kind of like just click into it, and it'll automatically start just loading them to the left here. Okay, and it goes and picks up some of these prices that's in the actual price lists. Okay, so that's a speed enhancement that helps not do it one by one, but kind of like just do it by a click of a button. You can also go and do your item categories. You can go and filter them quickly. So if I go and say, well, just show me my items that are linked to consumables, you'll see it actually filters them on the right hand side here, which quickly gives you the ability just to go to certain items. So you can, for instance, have a category that says expenses, and it will go to expenses. Any of these categories, and that again is in your Pastel environment, you'll see there's a category, and whatever you've categorized, it'll quickly then give you the actual snippet of only those items. Right, so now let's go to the second speed enhancement. The second one is what we call originator and link in Pastel. All right, so when you talk about capturing documents, often what happens in Pastel itself is that your finance team is the team that's ultimately going to capture all of the documents. But that is firstly a slow process, and secondly, it is open to quite a lot of errors. Okay, so, and you also don't have holistic insight. So let me give an example. If I am a person that needs to order the goods, I need to go and buy it, then what you find is that you are issuing a purchase order in a separate set of books. Sometimes it's a written order book, sometimes it's on a spreadsheet, sometimes on a Word document. And only when it lands and it comes in as a supplier's invoice, then the finance team often only captures it. So Pastel actually has a great way of linking documents. So if you were to move out if you move out your processing, and you say to your actual originator, the person that is busy doing the ordering, he can capture the order in MySuppliers, and then you can pull that in, this is just when we pull up a preview. You can also ask your originator to do the purchase order over here. He doesn't need licensing for Pastel. And once he's done that, your finance team imports it, and I'm going to show you now how you import it. You're going to import that purchase order, and then you can immediately link it on the finance side, so they don't have to retype it, and also they can link the document. So I'll show you also how that works. But for this for this exercise, I think most people understand that there's a linking that can happen. If I, for instance, pull up any purchase order that's open here, so let's just go for that one, for instance, I can go and say link this purchase order to a supplier invoice, and I can say select all, and it can actually link to today's date, and I say create it, and it's going to create a supplier's invoice for me. And then I can say delete the lines used. Okay, do you want to view this document now? Yes. Oh, then we've got a script error. Nice. That sometimes does happen. Always just know that that's the way that Pastel actually protects your database. When it runs into runtime errors, doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It actually has got a very robust way of protecting your database. So you know, just always understand that your database is very, very valuable, and it needs to be protected. So it's got a good way of protecting the databases. Okay, so let's just open this again. And the nice thing is it's actually been created because it already gave us a number. You'll see it's actually already over here. This is the one that I linked, and all of these lines are now available for me in my supplier's invoice. But remember now, if we've properly done our purchase order, the nice thing is now immediately that all of that originator's original instruction to buy something is already in our system. We don't have to go and retype it, which means that our finance people can focus on the values and the actual information that's important, like capturing the supplier invoice number. So now finance people are really focused on what we are actually, the value that we initially intended for them as a team, and not just a bunch of typists trying to type in you know, just line by line by line information. They're not focusing on numbers. All right, so let's go to the to the third speed enhancement. This is the nice one. This is called templates. Okay, so templates, what you find is in your business, you actually have multiple expenses that have repetitive natures. So in other words, they come up every month, or quite often you are repeating a lot of the typing. Even if you're ordering stuff, you can imagine in your business, you order the same things over and over and over again. You've got monthly invoices that you capture every month. For instance, there's expenses like electricity, rental, etc. So all of this comes up over and over again, and this is where templates really help. So I'm going to show you that quickly. Let me clear this, and let's just start over, and we're going to say, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to capture a supplier invoice. Sorry, so I'm going to clear all. I pressed clear filter. Okay, so I'm going to capture a supplier invoice, and I'm going to go for the same supply we just had and a similar kind of expense. So we had a electricity type of expense that we started to capture now. So let's go invoice 123. Right, now we go and we say over here on the left, you'll see that there are templates that are available to us. Okay, so I just captured a template. I'm just going to load that template. We actually load those templates on the My Preferences environment that's in your MyBI system. So now you'll see here we've got something called monthly electricity, etc. So instead of landing one by one line, I've loaded a template here. So check if I press this. It lands a template that I've already pre-built in the back end. All right, so now it's actually immediately available for me to go and capture against. So instead of having to load on a line by line basis, I can go and rather capture a whole template that immediately captures or that immediately structures a document for me, which I know is there every month, and I can just go and focus on the values here. I can say property taxes, and I've already captured even the taxes that are linked to each of these lines. garbage removal 250 Rand, electricity 2,500, water 1,300, and then sewerage, whatever that may be. Okay, and I can go and see what is the total. I say, oops, I've captured excluding or including prices. Let me rather say it's excluding, and it changes these amounts in the moment. Okay, then you can also capture a item environment. So you can even say, well, I actually want to capture items, not only a GL code. So I can do a dual processing that's also structured for me. So you'll see two of these lines have a itemized or an item link to it instead of a GL code. So I can, for instance, say, well, I know the price per unit is 2.70 Rand on electricity. We used 2,000 kilowatts, and we used 1,000 kiloliters of water. And here I can go back and say it's 250, and garbage removal or property tax, we said it's 1,250, and we've got sewerage, let's make that 300. All right, and we now can hit process. So I'm going to show you how that works, and you'll see that these three, I've mistyped something here, so it even gives me an indicator if I've mistyped, and it says on this readout the GL code is not valid. So let's just quickly type that in. That seems to only be a little bit of a Excel glitch, but never mind. Let's quickly fix this, and I'm gonna do this. Okay, that's obviously my template is not correctly loaded, so I'm gonna rather just land one of these templates again here at the bottom. That's a nice thing about these template environments. You can really quickly have the ability to just paste over lines, etc. And then because you're in an Excel environment, it's much easier to work. All right, so now that's done. I'm happy with my invoice. I want to process it now. So let's see what happens over here. Now I'm processing it. What can we now quickly do on the pastel side? So let's pop this up. Pastel. Here you'll actually see we've got a import functionality. Import it. What I want to import, well, it's going to be in my MyBI environment already there for me. I'm just going to search for it. So our MyBI environment speak through Dropbox. You'll see there Dropbox is over there. I'm just going to go into the right business. It's a MySuppliers, and it was an invoice that was captured, and you'll see over here there's an invoice that was just created. Open, process, and we've said we've imported one document, and there it is with all of that already typed in, and there's 4 codes, 2 of them, and 3 6 codes. So now you can see that how quickly you can actually capture this data with templates. So what does that mean for us in optimization terms? Well, firstly, we can structure data. Suddenly we've got structured data. Often our finance people just don't have the capacity to capture data in such level of detail that's needed for us to do comparisons. So 1 month they'll do, they'll capture everything on the invoice from City of Tshwane or whichever utility provider you've got, and the next month they'll only capture 1 line or 2 lines, one that says with VAT and without VAT expenses. That means your structuring of data is very difficult and doesn't really give you comparability on when you do data analysis. The other thing also, it's non-technical. So you've already got this nice template that's structured for them, so it's not so much technical. They can literally just go and read on the invoice property taxes. They can type in information that's value related, so it's not such a technical environment suddenly, and really helps you to speed up that process massively. All right, and then our fourth speed enhancement is multi-user capturing. So because this is not license related, it sits within an Excel environment. You can have 20 people that open this app at the same time using it and capturing invoices, and they ultimately can just process it. It processes a little something at the back end here in the environment that you that you created in. This is the specific Cactic Fitness environment on the MySuppliers side. And you'll see it's invoices, and there sits that little CSV file that you can that you can actually import, and as they land, because they speak through Dropbox, it's auto-synchronizes to all environments, so you can have your finance people at the back on the Pastel side standing ready to import, but you can have a multitude of people in your business that are going to capture the different types of supply invoices or supply documents, whether that's a purchase order or anything. But I'm just going to show you something. Then we've got a functionality here that's going to help your people that import it into Pastel to import quickly. So I'm going to do a copy paste here. I'm just going to Control C, Control V, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so now let's say, you know, we had 5 invoices that were captured. Now these are all the same, but you know, for the purpose of this discussion, I just want to show you how quickly you can import a multitude of invoices. But obviously, you know, it's not going to be a duplicate of the same invoice. They're going to capture different invoices, but they can also use the app. These are your financial people. They'll come in and they'll say, I'm going to actually what we call hoover, and you select which type of document you want to hoover, and I'm going to hoover these, my document or the supply invoices. I'm going to hoover into one file so that I can create one single import file. So I'm hoovering this. It's actually going to now start combining these into one import file. There it's been created. I'm going to go back into my Pastel and I'm going to say batch import. Okay, it just says you've got the same number, which we know because I've captured invoice 1, 2, 3 the whole time. Okay, yes, I want to continue. That's fine. I want to now go and search for a new one. You'll see is it something called a Hoover file. I say open, process, and here comes 5 invoices, and it's obviously going to be duplicates of each other, but you'll see there it's actually coming 5 times. So it's also a simplistic processing principle when it comes to importing it, and you've got, you know, this speed enhancement that helps you. It's multi-user capturing. Okay, the last thing also is there's a bit of stock control that can also happen in this, which is in the form of stock takes. You can have stock takes that you can do through MySuppliers, and that's if you select the option called stock take. Over here you can also have templates that helps your team. You're obviously not going to have a supplier's code in that instance, but you can do a stock take, and you can go and have a template that says just show me all my, you know, let's say in this business cactic fitness items. It's going to give you all your cactic fitness items over here, and you can, there's a big template that's loaded, and you can, and even shows you which items are now not valid because these have been blocked on the system. And you can go and say, well, let me count the amount of columns. I've got 3 here, and I've got, you know, 4 of these items, 6 of these items, 8 of these items. And let's rather just delete these ones that are in red because they have been blocked. That one has been blocked. Can we say we got 10 of these items, and as we process it, we just say process. It's going to create this import file, the stock count, and that's going to go not to supply invoice, but it's going to go to the stock count environment over there, and you'll see it's going to create also an importable file which has just been done 24. And if I just right click and edit this, show more options, let's just edit it, and you'll see this is Pastel language. It's kind of like just that's the way it looks. So that's an importable little file that you can now import into your Pastel, into your stock count module, which sits under process inventory, or this count inventory. All right, okay, so that's the overview of what MySuppliers can do for you from a capturing side, and how it can enhance your speed whilst it also enables you or improves your data quality. Hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for your time, guys, and have a great day. Cheers.